intelligence, not rumors.
I was just asking if you had any intelligence to share for this current.
No, no. Go to the next person.
Hi, Mayor. Just to push the needle forward on training and lessons learned from the BLM protests, talk about some of the training implemented in the NYPD as you guys prepare for tomorrow.
Mike?
Hi, I'm Michael Gerber. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Legal Matters. And, following the Floyd protests, DOI did a detailed report focusing on policies and procedures, made a number of recommendations. We adopted those recommendations. So there are lots of pieces to that, but I think most critically was the adoption of department policy in the patrol guide, specifically about the policing of First Amendment activities, outlining responsibilities, outlining how we go about maximizing the exercise of First Amendment rights while also maintaining public safety, enforcing the law. And then we train widely across the department on that, from people who are starting out as police officers to our executives. They all receive training on that new policy.
Rocco?
Along those lines of the same topic, the woman now has a First Amendment protest supervisor. What has that supervisor brought to the table? What is new now in how the police handles things? And why was the first supervisor, Chief Haywood, replaced after such a short time?
So there are a number of different pieces to that. So in the protest settlement, we are coming to the tail end of phase one. We have not yet started phase two. And in phase one, we have developed a variety of new policies and procedures and training that speak specifically to the terms of the protest settlement. The FAA executive, the First Amendment Activities executive, as per the settlement, is an executive in the Chief of Department's office from the operational side. And that person has a variety of responsibilities under the protest settlement. Now, that person is not a lawyer. That person is not giving legal advice. That person is not the incident commander. But that person, among other things, is responsible, and really this is going to kick in phase two, so we're not there yet. But in phase two, that person will be responsible for, first of all, a variety of administrative tasks and record keeping in terms of protests. And then connected to that, as part of DOI's oversight role, when they are reviewing particular protests, so that FAA executive will be responsible for making sure they have the records they need, but then also for interacting with them, for explaining to them what happened, getting feedback from them, and helping really lead the department in its interactions with DOI in its oversight function.
As far as the change at the top, the chief, that is a new chief.
We, as always, do not comment on individual personnel moves.
Time for one more. Sorry, Mark.
Just a couple of questions. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the deployment of officers in light of sending extra teams to religious institutions and the protest happening at the same time. How are those decisions going to be made? And obviously, you've mentioned the 34,000 officers that are going to be out there, but could you talk a little bit about rotating them, moving them, deploying them while all these things are happening? And the other question I had was, what's the search been like online in places like Telegram or in the dark web to sort of find out what some of these agitators who have been known to the department, either in the Columbia protests or in other things, like what's being done to keep an eye on them or to sort of get ahead of what they might be doing or planning for these demonstrations?
Let me start with the first part. In terms of how we move our resources around, as I mentioned, we are activating our Joint Operations Center tomorrow morning. So the movements of resources in the department will all be controlled by the Joint Operations Center as it relates to the protest activity, and Chief Shell will be running the operations in the JOC tomorrow. Rebecca, do you want to speak to the second part?
Sure. So this is very fundamental to what our intelligence personnel do in coordination with their federal partners and partners around the world in the private sector. So this is something we deal with every day. There's, of course, a large public manifestation of both protest and obviously a lot of online calls for civil disobedience and other activity. But we are knee-deep in monitoring for threats of all sides, of all kinds around the world every day. We are, unfortunately, have become quite accustomed to dealing with a bubbling up of conflict overseas and potential ramifications here in the city at the same time, as we have a very different scenario playing out across the country, namely these protests, that some of which have involved acts of civil disobedience and even violence. So this is what we do every day. We have large teams. They are quite good at what they do, and we have wonderful partners. So we're confident we're going to be able to get through not just tomorrow, but whatever is on our horizon.
And we should, we want to be clear and want to keep in mind, we have 8.5 million people in New York City. You have a protest of 5,000, 10,000. The loudest, they are not the numerical majority. We saw a video that went viral of a woman who was just trying to get to work. And the level of disrespect that was being shown to her, it impacts 8.5 million people. When you block traffic, that emergency vehicle can't respond to the heart attack. When you decide that you're going to burn police vehicles, you are showing a level of display and disorder. When you break windows of shops and glass, people work inside there that provide for their family. That's what we're going to balance. And we're not going to romanticize what disorder does to a city. You see it being played out across this country. We can't allow it to happen here. That is our job. Our job is to allow that mother to go to her job. Our job is to allow family members to pick up their loved ones from school. Our job is to make sure emergency vehicles can get to where they have to go to provide services for New Yorkers. We have 8.5 million people in this city, and we're not going to allow a numerical minority to impact the quality of life that they deserve. That is what we're going to do. We do it well. No one does it better than us, and we're going to do it tomorrow on the 14th.
This has been breaking news.
A bag of donated clothes has turned into